businesses in a variety of industries are giving case interviews. Are there any commonalities?
Definitely everyone wants the basic skills that you can communicate well and that you can walk me through your logic. So the commonality I'd say across all the different firms and companies is that they want to hear your thinking. So be prepared for what I call the brick wall interviewer who just says, what would you do? And sits back. I'm meeting a lot of students right now that I'll call the hypothebot, where they just say, I believe it's this, can you answer these questions? Don't go in prepared to just ask questions. Be prepared to explain your thinking. I think that's the biggest commonality.
Thank you. Next question is, what are the latest changes that you've seen in case interviews?
Definitely a lot of emphasis on integration. I'm not sure why, but I do find that over the last couple of years, my audiences are having trouble integrating facts in the case. So what people are doing in the interviews are giving more slides. We have cases in our library that have 4 slides, forcing you to go back and forth between the handouts and seeing connections. Well, some of the companies have turned this into a written interview in a sense, and in a final round, you might get as many as 15 to 25 slides. The interviewer will give you the deck of slides, the question, and say, we'll be back in 30 minutes. Talk us through what matters. So at that point, you have to disregard slides that don't matter, but also get the main insight quickly. So I would encourage you to practice using cases with slides so that you can be prepared for that. That's a big trend. And then I think, there's just a lot of companies out there trying to blow up people who are over-prepared in one particular way. Recently, there was a case where the interviewer said, should I buy a cow? And clearly, there aren't any memorized structures that would help you with that. But if you're very good at blocking out your ideas, you'll do well with that kind of case.
Excellent. So you have a very, very rich experience. And could you tell us what are some of the biggest mistakes that students make?
Sure. Well, one is training with only one kind of methodology, even though I think our materials are fantastic and I love when people learn how to do cases well. I encourage them to look at a wide variety of resources. So you should invest heavily in this time period of building these skills because it's so critical not only to doing well in the interview, but the skills you learn in cases will help you on your job. So one thing is, of course, just being too narrow in your preparation. The second mistake is not preparing enough. I would say probably the average person goes into an interview having only done 15 cases. I was at a school the other day where they had gone through an intense program and everyone was expected to have done 20 cases. And when I took a poll, people had only done 4 to 5 on average. So I think the reality of it is that people let their schoolwork or the busyness of work crowd out their preparation. And then I think another big mistake is just not preparing over a long enough period of time. I was talking to the global director of hiring at Bain & Company, and he made the comment that I'd rather have people do 20 cases over 12 weeks than doing like 30 cases in 1 week, meaning that slow soaking and practicing over a longer period of time is helpful. Now, if you're listening right now and you only have 1 week to get ready, then you definitely can dedicate the time and you'll do well. But for the rest of you who have time, start early and make sure you don't cram it at the end.
That's perfect. What about when we're talking of a group case? How can a candidate become a leader without alienating the rest of the students?
I think the best way is in a group case, and just to help the audience understand this, that would be when you're in a round of interviewing where there might be 3 to 4 other candidates who want the job just like you. You're put together and you're given a problem that you have to solve. The first thing you can do is make sure that you really know your section and that your data, you've used data and analyzed it well. So when they say, hey, let's go around and contribute, you really know your material well. The second thing I think you can do to show your leadership is to listen really well to the other people at the table. Using things they say or adjusting your material accordingly is really helpful. So you could say, well, June just presented this data, and now that I know this, it kind of changes my answer. I think it's really interesting that she's telling us that the competitor share has not grown because that conflicts with something I learned. Just showing that ability to listen and integrate shows you as a leader without trying to triumph over others and be like, I'm the leader. And then I think finally, be somewhat assertive though. They are looking for people to step up and speak up. So I think that's really important. I have had some people who have not done well in the group cases because they sat back and didn't speak enough, and the feedback was they didn't show that they were asserting. So don't be afraid to be authoritative, but at the same time, be a good listener, and I think that will balance that out.